In terms of where we are today, I think the mandate for a change is pretty clear. These red dots show you the shift towards the Republican Party. It's occurred in most places, perhaps apart from the West Coast. But it's pretty clear that people were concerned about the messages they were hearing from the Democrat Party. I don't want to spend too long talking about the campaign. We don't think the US economy is in that fantastic a shape, actually. I think that Bidenomics is really, in a previous world, would have been called tax and spend. And you've had the replacement of the private sector with the public sector, which typically leads to lower levels of productivity. And you can therefore see with these various slides we've got in here how the real wage earnings on the top left haven't really kept pace with the rate of so-called GDP. You can see how average hours worked in the USA are falling on the top right-hand chart. And essentially, you're seeing quite a lot of stress in the USA, particularly in the bottom cohort. This is the cohort on the right-hand side in the 0 to 20% by income percentile. And that's presumably the garbage that Joe Biden clumsily referred to. These people haven't enjoyed the asset price growth that has been enjoyed by the top 10%, the top 1%. And so this is the group that needs to be re-engaged with the economy. And the best way to do that, we think, is to fire up the private sector, and you can invest accordingly for that. George Clooney spent a lot of money, spent a lot of time, possibly political capital in backing Kamala Harris. But, he's not representative of what people are feeling in the USA. Credit card delinquencies are back to 2010 levels. Advanced Auto, which is a US listed company, reported some very, very poor results. And they actually should be benefiting from the lower income cohorts going to their shops because they would look to repair their cars as opposed to buying new ones. The consumer is a little bit stretched in the USA right now, particularly in the bottom half of the income quartile, and that will have to be addressed at some point. And that's what the votes are expecting to happen. And again, you can invest to benefit from that shift. The price of groceries is up 20-odd%. The CPI numbers we know are kind of cooked. One of the websites we like to look at is called, oh gosh, my mind's gone blank. One of the websites is run by a fellow called John Williams, who's an ex-central banker. And he looks at the inflation rate that used to exist. Darren, you just click the slide forward. He used to look at the inflation rate that used to exist in the 80s and the 90s construct. And the real level of inflation is running at about 8 or 9% and not the 2.5% that's claimed. So again, people who actually have to buy stuff in the supermarkets are stretched. And this, I think, is what's caused the Democrats to lose control of all the houses as well as the White House. It's not just price increases. It's also, yes, please, if you can. It's not just price increases, but there's something called shrinkflation, which is affecting. So again, there's this website, mouseprint.org, which you can go to. And they're pretty good at showcasing which consumer items are shrinking in size or shrinking in quality. And this is a 17% price increase in the price of razor blades. George Clooney has a beard, I think. So there's a disconnect between the West Coast of California and maybe even New York State with what's happening in the US economy. This has to be addressed. This is the point we're making about the US economy not being in great shape.